Good morning, Ponyville.
Good morning.
And welcome to what is our first podcast. To start off, since absolutely no one has any idea what we're doing, we decided to throw this podcast together basically because
We felt like it.
we felt like it, but it gets talked a lot about in the music scene, but not too much anywhere else. But there's like a lot of people in the fandom who do a lot of great work, and no one ever sees it because everyone there's sort of like the titans of the fandom, which in music would be Black Griffin and like Kreber and Silverhound and people like that who are just like really big and produce great content, but they kind of bury everyone else, not on purpose, but just as a matter of fact. So what the point of this podcast is we're going to have some lesser known content on here that's still like pretty good quality in an attempt to like give some exposure to these people and hopefully be entertaining and interesting at the same time. And this is going to be like hopefully like a weekly podcast, provided we like have enough content, which I guess I'll just throw this in there right now. If you like have content from people you follow who aren't big, or you like think you make stuff that's pretty decent and you want publicity or something, send it in. No guarantee we'll feature it, but it'll definitely help us find content.
Well, yeah.
We're going to be looking at it.
We're already having trouble filling.
So definitely, if you have stuff you want featured, send it in. We'll take a look at it. I can't imagine there's going to be a million YouTube comments or anything else. And that should be cool. A bunch of, audience participation and whatever else.
It's always fun to bring in the community with something such as a podcast like what we're doing now. So
keeps people interested.
It should be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I guess I'll start because I sort of kind of masterminded the idea. I was like, hey, let's do this thing, and you guys jumped on, and a few other people are interested. But I'm Dr. Freedom. I guess I'll just say how long I've been in the fandom, and I don't know if there's any other relevant information. I joined the fandom back in October 2011, and have been around and hung out, and I've created some minor content from time to time, but never been a big content creator myself. But I listen to a lot of music, and I used to read a lot of fan fiction. I don't read quite as much now, and I look at art because it's art, and it's good.
And art is good. Yes.
Hey, I'm FunFact216. Just your average community member. I love to draw, write stories, comics, stuff like that. Go to conventions pretty often. Love to travel, and I'm grateful to be part of the podcast.
So, hello everyone. My name is Sky, and I run 2 Tumblr Ask blogs. You'll just see those in the description below. One is about a pirate and her adventures with a crew, and the other is a Fallout Equestria blog because I am very, very, very interested in that kind of thing. I joined the Brony fandom around, pretty much the same thing as Dr. Freedom. Pretty much, yeah. As you've said previously, I've just been hanging out, role playing, watching the show, just having fun, really. So yeah, that's pretty much me.
Yeah. And I'm Biasties, so named because of my interesting perceptions on things. And I actually joined the fandom probably a year and a half would be the earliest I could consider myself a brony. I actually saw the show 1 year afterwards, just floating around on YouTube, but I didn't really watch any of it until that point in time. And I published a little bit of fan fiction. I have 2 or 3 published stories and a lot of unfinished stories that I am gonna finish before I publish, essentially. I learned my lesson. I started an epic story, and it's currently in progress, and I feel really bad for anyone who watches me and is waiting on that. So I'm gonna do most of the work for the story at least before I start publishing.
Yeah, Yeah,
Well, I mean,
actually, I think this will cue greatly in. So we're gonna cover fan fiction on this podcast, not just our fan fiction, but fan fiction generally. And what we're gonna do, because I think this will work out best for the radio and like actually trying to discuss the story, is we're going to say what story we're going to talk about next week. So if you're listening and you want to, and you like do care about spoilers, you can read it. It'll be relatively short. We're not going to give you Fallout Equestria to read in a week. So we'll.
Yes, we will.
Okay, Skybite. I won't. And we'll tell you what story it is, and then next week you'll come on. We'll tell you the story, and just talk about the one for that week, and then we'll give you the one for the next week. So it'll just be a cycle.
So are we going to give them the story for this week right now?
So that's currently the plan is we have a story that we may use depending on how much time we have, because we're wanting this to run about an hour, and we've never done this before, so we don't know how long it's going to run. So we're going to do art, and I'm going to assume music will take 15 to 20 minutes. So if we have a bunch of time, we're going to talk about this story. Otherwise, I think we'll end up talking about it. But if we don't, we don't.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually been looking forward to talking about it.
I mean,
because it's
we can talk about it all we want.
Well, yeah, we can talk about it all we want. I'm just
we're
talking about it on the podcast.
Okay, so do we want to do art?
Oh, okay. So
that was the first on the list. All right, you're on the show.
So this week we're featuring Dorito, who is modestly famous, I would say, but is sort of an old hat on the fandom. He was floating around on DA when I joined it, and he was a good friend of my miniature Ep1, who now no longer has, I believe he's left the fandom, but he actually went to serve in the United States military, so that was a fandom killer probably for him. But Dorito went on, and he drew comics, pony comics, for quite a while under the imprint Taco Hat. And then he proceeded to do something really interesting, which was he took the background characters that there's some fanon around, but no real canon, Lyra and Bonbon, and just made a whole bunch of comics involving their interactions called Silly Lyra. And he actually has started selling the Silly Lyra comics because they're not really Hasbro IP. So this is that's an interesting thing that if you want to pick it up, I would encourage it.
Yeah, so he's sort of avoided all the copyright issues, and while still like staying within the fandom bounds, which is always handy when it happens. I know there's like some games that I think maybe are trying to do that. Like obviously, like Fighting is Magic totally failed at that and got C&D'd. I mean, they weren't like selling anything. But
well, also the thing with Fighting is Magic, I'm pretty sure they have either made or are in the process of making a different version in the same vector
because
art
they
style.
had Foss do like the character design.
The thing that sunk Fighting is Magic from a legal perspective is I believe that they accepted money to produce Fighting is Magic, which makes them legally indefensible. Yeah.
Oh, maybe. I know what really got them on like the radar of Hasbro is they went to I don't follow fighting games at all, but they went to like some convention or something, and their game did relatively well because it was relatively well made, and so that sort of brought them up on the radar of probably Hasbro's legal team, and they were like, no, you can't do that. That was at least my understanding.
There's a lot of interesting things about copyright, and by interesting, like kind of terrible legal things about copyright. But
yeah.
And
once you accept money for a project, it can no longer be considered a fan project, and fan projects get extra protections on U.S. copyright because they're not for profit. They can be considered parodies.
Like parodies.
I mean, there's also the whole trademark is often used to suppress projects like Fighting is Magic, and it would have been like, assuming that they had accepted no money, it would have been a legal battle over trademarks.
And okay, that's kind of what I meant. I'm pretty sure what sent Jan Animations down the drain, and the whole Button Mash Adventures, which would have been so cool if that had gone through, was the fact that they used the scenery, some of the music, and a lot of the characters themselves, which is not a thing.
I think Jan. I mean, like, obviously he like used.
Jan Animations had the same problem,
stuff.
I think, of accepting money to produce content.
I don't think he accepted any money because he has this whole long, extensive video on his channel where he talks about the lawyers contacted him, and so he ended up in like conference calls with their lawyers, and then that lawyer told him to go to another lawyer, and eventually that lawyer put him with another lawyer, and then they just never got back to him, and he was in like the legal process for like 2 years, so.
And then he just decided to quit.
He didn't like just decide to quit. It's like they stopped answering every phone call and email he sent. So he's sort of just like stuck. There's nothing he can do.
Yeah, I'm glad that he moved on to different things though.
Yeah, and I mean, like, what we have from him is still great.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, it's not on his channel anymore, right? But it's around, so it is what it is.
Oh, okay. So he's put up unable to post the stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, he had to take down Button Mash Adventures, and then he can't post more stuff that's pony related.
Yeah, that's interesting. Google's gone from a very laissez-faire sort of stance on copyright to a very protectionist one as it's become more entrenched in the economy.
So have we been moving on from the silly Lyra?
Sorry. This is less than silly.
No, it's completely fine.
Conversation.
Like, spinning off on tangents is fine because we're only like 11 minutes in.
I recommend. I mean, with a sort of bitter taste in my mouth, I recommend you go to his DeviantArt page. I know DeviantArt is probably falling off the popularity curve here, but
well, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I mean,
so.
It's being taken over by like Tumblr and like.
I'm sure he has a Tumblr.
Pixel?
Just
Pixel?
Google Silly Lyra or Dorito, spelled with a
DORI-TO.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just throw the link in the description of the video.
And and he has another comic that he's made that's like about himself, kind of, where he's like a Pegasus wolf. So that's pretty cool.
A Pegasus wolf.
Yeah.
Huh.
Pegasus wolf looking thing.
Haven't seen that one. Yeah, but more about the Silly Lyra thing. I'm just looking at some of his comics, and in my personal opinion, his or her style is adorable.
I like, now that I've like actually drawn a little bit on like computers, just like doing a comic seems like a lot of work. So like when they're somewhat like simplistic and like drawing, they're, you know, because some of the pictures you can find on like Derpy Boy and stuff are like, these are like absurdly complex with like all these reflections on the eyes, and then you like go look at comics, and even like I'm probably gonna butcher pronouncing his name because I never do anything but read it, but what's his name, Kanashi Panda does like comics sometimes, and he's done a couple animations too, and like you look at it and they're like relatively like complicated as far as like animations and stuff goes. I mean, they're no Lullaby for a Princess or anything, but they're like relatively simple. But like coming from now, like seeing how much work it requires, like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I can take more of a view on this because recently I've moved from drawing panel to panel to more like a comic kind of thing, and oh my god, that takes so much more work than panel to panel. But I think it's a lot more filling. Like you can fit a lot more content and put in action and more immersive to the. I'm talking about game logic now. Anyway, and more immersive to the people viewing the art itself. Can I talk about like the color
I was
style?
about to say I just like want to mention the color style because it's like very much not like monotone. I don't know.
It's monochromatic.
Monochromatic. That's the word. It's very monochromatic. I'll throw a couple pictures up on the screen. They've probably already been up there for a while at this point. But
sorry to interrupt, but what I've seen is that it's short. Like the line art is short. It's still green. The entire thing is a shade of green, which is
the Lyra mint green,
which is kind of really really nice
it's
style.
Interesting.
And the backgrounds are very very simple, which brings attention to the foreground and what the characters are saying, and even the text is green.
It's a very dark green,
So
but yes, it is.
I really like how Dorito's done this.
It's like it is the mint green Lyra. I mean, like that's never looked bad. Sometimes
No,
it doesn't look good, but I'm just imagining like a kitchen painted in that color, and it would be.
He's
a little much.
Dorito's also really good at characterizing Bon Bon and Lyra in this.
Yeah, Bon Bon's facial expression in that third frame is.
I'm looking at silly Lyra catching up, and it's very 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 silly, and definitely what I think Lyra would do.
Okay, what time are we at? We are at 20-ish minutes.
Yeah, 20-ish minutes.
So that's actually probably about where we should be.
Yeah.
If we were to have fan fiction. So I guess we'll just talk about Coin. Real quick.
So who here has read it?
Okay. I obviously read
yeah.
it. He read it.
I read it.
You read it. Fun, did you read?
Yeah.
Okay. We've all read it. Beautiful. Okay. So
Can I just start off by saying something?
I'm just going to say what the fic
Yes,
is
go
real
for
quick.
it. Go for
Okay.
it, go for it.
So this is the only fic we'll ever do that you guys will necessarily not have read, or at least be very likely to not have read. I found it on EQD actually forever ago, months and months ago. But it was
a year old.
What?
Almost like 9 months at this point. But
9 months,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
It's old. But it was like a very very interesting fic, and it's short, and we needed something to talk about. And this was memorable, and one of the more recent fan fictions I've read that was also like written recently. I tend to read like a bunch of old stuff. So, anyways, but the story's called "Flip a Coin and She Smiles," and so it's very interesting. I think the writer in the comments says it's mostly like. The point of the story is to like experiment with like how you tell the story.
Yeah.
And so it starts off and it talks about you guys have read it more recently, so you perhaps could do a better job than this and correct me.
I read it today.
You read it today. But
I did.
He starts off, and I think he starts with Vinyl, and her basically life just goes progressively downhill, and then he sort of flips to this alternate universe where it's Octavia. But her life progressively goes downhill, and
I wouldn't say alternate universe. I'd say like different
Parallel?
trail of events.
yeah, kind of like a parallel universe.
Because as the title says, flip a coin.
Yeah,
See
yeah.
what we get.
The point is that there's like two sides to the coin. Yeah, I'll let someone else talk.
yeah, I actually because it keeps a very consistent framing throughout. It frames you always as outside kind of the story, and it takes you past the events, but you don't necessarily do anything but view them because they're viewed from an outside perspective. The narrator is careful to keep you sort of at a distance from the events, even as they go through them, and so the sort of feeling I got from the fic was actually like the feeling that you get when you're maybe in a car for a little while and you look out the window. And I don't get car sick, so that's not the feeling I mean. But it's sort of
Neither do I.
sort of the feeling where you're looking out the window and you're seeing like kind of cool scenery go past, and it's nice, and it's like, but it also kind of makes you lightheaded, was the sort of the feeling I took away from that fic.
Just a little bit, yeah. Um,
Yeah, that's pretty much my impression.
Yeah. What I got from it was more like a one-sided conversation in the car, because like the narrator could be somebody in the car talking about the landscape going by you, and like pinpointing some of the more interesting bits, like the antagonist could be like some sort of storm or something. This is something that actually, the way it's written is something I've never seen before in anything that I've written. Anything that I've written or even read. So reading this it was a bit jarring, but I really enjoyed this by the time I was finished reading it, because it was new, and I generally enjoy new things.
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick. It's very much. I mean, the narrator's like directly talking to the reader, and it's sort of like you're at an amusement park, and it's like, I almost feel like this is like an older style of ride, but you're like going through, and it would be like one of those like slower moving rides, and you've got like your pseudo tour guide just sort of like being like, oh yeah, on the left here, this is this thing, and that happened. Like there's like a bunch of them at Disney. Probably the most famous would be what's the one that's in the ball? I can't in Epcot. I cannot think of the name of it.
I have not been any Disney park.
I've been
at all.
way too many times, and I cannot remember
I'll leave
the
my
name.
own Disney experience out of this.
Spaceship Earth. It's
Right.
kind of sort of like Spaceship Earth in the sense that it's like taking you through a series of events chronologically and talking about directly to you. Except on Spaceship Earth, you're going through like all of human history, and in this fan fiction, you're going through like a few months.
I'd
Yeah.
say it's sort of an acquired taste, and if you get carsick, stop reading.
Yeah.
Fun fact: did you have anything to say about this?
Yeah. Well, the perspective. I think it's second person perspective. It's kind of weird. You don't see it too.
Third
Talking
person.
about the perspective.
Is it-
Doctor
well-
and I had
Yes,
this
we had this whole disagreement.
extensive conversation about whether it was second person or third person.
It's
I
talking,
say it's second person.
It's talking to the reader. Second person is when like the protagonist is you, and
Second person is a manual. This is
it's
literally...
second person is your self insert, or not self insert, but that's sort of like a bad example because we're talking about fan fiction, and like self inserts are like a kind of fan fiction. I'm talking about.
I think we're talking
Think
about
about like
I
the
guess.
make your own adventure books where it's like, oh, what do you do? Turn to this page that you read when you were like
this
13.
This is I would say second
Yeah, I
person,
see it,
right?
yeah.
Right.
Because the story starts with
Yeah, this is second person.
your door opens.
There's a
and I
there's a
walk
few
in.
places
It's a choose
that
your own
are-
adventure with no choices.
Okay, with no choices.
Yeah, go on. Did you see it? It's like the narrator is talking to the person. It's almost
Yeah,
it's
But the
it's almost
story
inserting
being
you
narrated
into
is in
it,
the third
and the
person.
narrator.
It's weird. I'm gonna go look this up.
Yeah,
It's
it's a good
weird, but
hybrid
it's
of the
great.
two.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Fun fact: did you have anything else?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm usually not too much a fan. I mean, the last thing I really enjoyed that was I enjoyed the actual literature. The person that wrote it, did a very good job on it. I'm just not too much a fan of the perspective, because sometimes they'll say like, oh, like you'll think this way, or you do this or whatever, and I think no, I wouldn't do that, or I wouldn't think that. And there was a few places in there I'd had that, but I usually get over it.
Yeah, I think
But yeah,
Same
it's a
here,
good story
actually, same here.
overall.
I think there was a couple times where it said like you might think, but I don't. I mean, it like, did you notice it? I'm not sure they like force you to notice anything. I mean, they like
Generally-
do in the sense that they're telling you these things, and so therefore you're forced to notice them. But
Yeah.
Generally, when I'm reading things, I tend to not really enjoy saying, like, a narrator saying what the reader would do, because that just kind of brings me out of it. Just like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
aren't you
Well-
just a pompous prick?
okay, maybe this is second person.
I guess-
Whatever. Continue.
Anyone know the Barbara suggestibility scale?
Yeah, and there's certain
Try,
places
you
you'll
can't.
see.
Try, you can't.
The what scale?
I get a sort of patter from the reading. It's just
Oh, I see.
sort of
Fun fact, you had something to continue with?
Oh no, I was just saying. Yeah, there's sometimes like it'll be like if they say something, then you're like, oh, like I'm not sure if it's something that well, yeah, now it's hard to explain. Trying to like think of a specific example of it, but yeah, just anytime.
Yeah, I mean, I have the story open right now.
Well, I guess it was just the feeling that it was like there are certain times like they'll tell you to do something like, oh, like think of this, or like, oh, you'll see what I mean in a moment, like parts like that, and I was like, I think I already know, or I don't see where this is going.
The intro and the outro.
It feels a little bit like you're in a car going somewhere, but there's no windshield. Like I have no idea where this is going. Kind of like you can't really. You can kind of build like where the story as a whole would go.
My experience was like when
paragraph
they
to
did,
paragraph.
It's flip a coin, right? So when they did it, I was expecting like the first one went like downhill, and so I was like, oh, they're gonna like flip the coin and it'll end up like positive, but it didn't, and it was like this, and this inversion of expectations.
I mean, to be fair, in the beginning bit, it did end up being positive. It was just the ending that really took it back to negative, because in the first bit of it, in the first half, it was just going steadily downhill, whereas in the second one, it was going up, 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 down.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all.
They had like their moments, but yeah, I mean they all ended poorly, all two of them.
Yeah.
All right, I am just gonna like pick out these like 5 or so sentences and like read them in an attempt to like have people understand what we're talking about without pausing the podcast.
I think we should.
Which they may have.
I think we should encourage people to do that.
Dramatic reading. Right. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I mean, it's not that short, anyways.
Yeah. Go read this thing. It's great.
But it goes. He's the stallion in black. I don't even think he has a name. He's more a symbol than a pony at this point. Look at him, glaring from the distance. It's hard to notice him, I know. Your eyes drift to Vinyl on their own, don't they? She's got all that energy. It's mesmerizing. Don't bother looking for Octavia in the crowd, by the way. She's most likely at the stage, too, in some weird hidden spot so she can see everything from Vinyl's point of view. I don't know, because it's romantic or something. They're artists. They think like that. But the stallion in black, I don't blame you if you didn't want to look at him. He was there, glooming in the corner. He had the most devious snarl. And so he's like talking to you about what you would be seeing if it was like visual.
Yeah.
It's odd.
He's also making like generalizations about artists, and I don't know about you, but being one,
I mean, like he's talking about like a certain temperament. It's
good point.
Like successful artist sort of temperament. Weird. Shots fired. But that's I do not have the successful artist temperament. Perhaps not. I don't know.
Anyway, you had like other bits to it, or did you want to expand more on that?
So we are a little past halfway through, or right about halfway through. So I don't really have anything more I want to say about the fan fiction.
Did anybody else want to say anything else about the fan fiction?
Yeah, it was good. I think we're basically done.
Actually, how about this? Good. Like, read it or don't read it. I say read it.
I mean, like, I don't think I'm going to feature anything on here that I wouldn't read.
Well, yeah, of course, but
definitely go read it. The link, I'll try to throw it up on the screen. YouTube doesn't seem to be really consistent or workable in the way it lets me do those things in my experience. But even if it's not on the screen, it'll definitely be in the description. You can go there.
It really depends on the editing software.
No. It's when you throw the
itself.
link on the screen, you have to like put the link on YouTube, like with the annotation, and the annotations just don't work for me sometimes. I don't know why. It like puts it in the wrong part of the video. It's a mess. So it may not be in the annotations. But
before read it until you start getting carsick, and if that happens, then stop.
Pretty much. That's pretty much.
Oh. So the one we're going to do next week. And it's definitely by like a smaller author, less popular author, but is called A Melody Soul. That will also hopefully be on the screen and definitely be in the description. It's very different from this week's story.
Yeah, just glancing over the beginning.
Still about Vinyl and Octavia. Still about vinyl.
Well, let's be
Macadamia.
honest here. They're best ponies now, aren't they?
They're best ponies, but it's very much more character driven, and it's still short. It's only one chapter. It's let's see, 4,300 words about. So
which sounds intimidating, but it really isn't.
yeah, it's I can't remember the average reading rate, but it's I mean like 15 minutes.
I mean, a short story is anything under 1,000 words.
Pretty much. And this isn't really a short story, then, is it?
Well, not quite nearly, but anyways.
All right.
But it's short. You can read it. You've got a whole week. All right. Do we wanna go over the music? Because I've got a few things we can say before we discuss the song.
What do you want to say?
Okay. So first, Ponies at Dawn. Just came out with a new album today. If you don't know what Ponies at Dawn is, they release albums. They're collaborative albums just between a ton of artists. They normally have 50 some songs on them. This one has, let's see, 57. And it's got music by Silverhound, and but it's also got music by people who you have no idea who are. The kind of people we're trying to feature on this podcast. So they're great. They expose you to a lot of different artists you otherwise wouldn't hear. And it's cool. And then the other thing is Cider Party, which is, I don't think at all related to Ponies at Dawn, but it's sort of a similar idea, except they don't do it in albums. They have a YouTube channel, and they feature artists and their music, and sort of try to give them a platform. And they don't judge upon how many people or followers you have. They just judge upon the quality of your music. So if your music's good, you get in basically.
That's pretty good, actually.
It's very cool. They tend to lean electronic, but the whole fandom tends to lean electronic. So I'm not sure that's their fault.
Although there are some pretty nice classical pieces, rock pieces, but generally speaking, fan music.
Yeah, it leans electronic
mainly because it's more easy to make.
Yeah, it's just more accessible, right? You download FL Studio and throw together some beats and
or Ableton, GarageBand, whichever digital workspace you want to work with.
As opposed to getting instruments, recording the instruments, recording all of your audio, which is still relatively easier than learning and recording instruments. But
did we talk about the lunch table?
No.
The lunch table.
I guess we should just throw all those at. Actually, we can't throw them at the end because we're gonna outro with a song.
Oh, okay.
All right, so we'll throw them in now.
All right.
Because we haven't talked about the music piece yet, and we're talking about community things, so it kind of fits in here.
The lunch table is a renaissance of pony. It's
a renaissance.
It is.
Really?
It's a server by D-Show. Again, he has a deviant art.
People probably know who he is.
And
if you follow Art, you will. If you don't, like me, you'll have no idea who he is and be like, okay, whatever.
And he created this Discord server.
It's got a lot of users.
Yeah, is it 200 or is it more than that now?
Last night.
Oh, okay. It used to be 200 back when it was just Dr. Freedom and myself and 198 other users.
I joined in.
Yeah, I think there's a bit over 300, but I can't seem to get the users command to work with CoffeeBot.
I joined in maybe a couple days ago, maybe a couple weeks.
Yeah, not that long.
No, not that long.
But so that's a cool server, and then D-Show has another server if you're interested in art. Even if you don't make art, you can join the server and just look at other people's art. That's the Art Plaza Extravaganza. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to link these because Discord links die within a day. So
private message one of us, and we can talk to the host of the servers.
I think the lunch table might have a permanent link that I can get, and then from there you can end up joining the Art Plaza Extravaganza if that interests you.
As you can tell, we are very professional.
Ready.
Discord's a new tool.
Totally.
Knowing how it
Discord's
works.
relatively new.
How new is it?
Especially as tech goes.
It's I only heard about it last year, so.
Yeah, I want to say a year and a half.
Wow.
A year and a half, I want to say. The server's almost as old as Discord is, I'm pretty sure.
Not surprising.
But that's only the server's only a year old, unless he waited to advertise it on DeviantArt. It's less than a year.
Yeah, I think he waited to advertise it on DA because I joined a few months after it started.
While we're talking about like community-based stuff, should we talk about what we're all working on, or do we all have projects in process, or what's going on there?
Well, I won't talk about myself because I feel like it's a conflict of interest, and you already have my username. So
that's a good point. That is also a good point. Just an idea.
Oh, here we go. Hang on.
So,
I just got it.
Moving
Server
on.
info. There are 386 users total, but that includes 5 bots. So there's 381 people.
Oh,
so it's a very large server, but really the amount of people who talk is not that big. It's maybe 50. So if you talk, you'll get to know everyone who talks, and everyone else just lurks.
That is.
And if you lurk, you'll get to know everyone who talks.
Even if we don't get to know you.
That is generally how community-based servers work. Because personally speaking, people may be a bit too nervous to speak up, like myself in Lunch
400
Table
people on your server.
And Art Extravaganza. But
Art Extravaganza isn't nearly as bad.
Well, still. Anyway. So it doesn't really matter if you do speak up, if you don't speak up. You're as far as I know, you are always welcome there.
Right.
As far as I know.
Okay. So you said you had a few other servers you wanted to plug? And we'll move on.
Not really. I mean.
Okay. Well, if not, that's fine. Just wondering. So we're at 42 minutes. So now's the good time to start the song.
Yep.
I obviously listened to the song. Did you guys listen to the song?
I should have listened to the song a bit more than I did.
That's fine.
I just sat down at my desk like this was my first chance to see the song, and I figured it wouldn't be good to just start playing the song. Because you guys would be able to hear it.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. An error occurred.
Oh no, errors.
Yeah, hang on.
Did the error pony show up?
No.
Is there an error pony?
I know why there's an error. So.
Does anybody know if anybody ponified Windows error?
I haven't seen Ponified Windows error. I feel like the two concepts are just like to make a cute looking Windows error.
Hey, I mean they did it with Windows Explorer, so Internet Explorer.
Yeah, well that was derpy.
Yeah.
Right?
So. No.
I love there's a comic with Derp.ie and Derpy using the internet.
That's funny.
That's one of my favorite comics with that.
Fun fact. What were you doing?
Oh.
Nice.
That's great. Okay. Well, I can't seem to load the song currently. It won't matter. I have it downloaded, so I'll just I won't throw it in the background. We'll play it at the end of the podcast. Yeah, I'll plug it in the description. Our description is going to be awful. It's going to be like 18 links, and I'm going to have to do some hardcore labeling. But
I mean, I can probably help with that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too terrible.
I mean, this podcast is essentially being like a fandom bus.
It is
almost
effectively a fandom bus.
We'll get you where you want to go.
Eventually. So I think it's just YouTube derping at the moment because none of these videos are working. But anyways, so the song is Memory. Yeah, it works within Discord, just not on YouTube. Whatever. The song is Memory of You by Namira, and I don't think I mispronounced that, but if I did, yeah.
I can probably talk a little bit about it if you run out of things to say.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about Namira itself? Her themselves?
I do not generally. I haven't talked to her much. I just they're for short of 200 subscribers, So, and they're super like prolific. So this song in question came out 5 days ago, and I was like, oh, this is like a pretty cool song, and then 2 hours ago, right before we were about to record this podcast, put out another song. So they put out at least one a week, and I think a little bit more than that.
They're pretty
so
active.
Very active. And if you like really, if you want some like good, I'm sure it would make good background music, but it's like calming, I guess.
Like
it's very chill music.
There's a whole lot of elements from like general. I mean, it's not really electronic per se, but there's like elements.
It's definitely electronic, but it's like it's not like really.
There's a lot of elements from like chill step, trance.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's I think the style in general, but certainly in this song, there's the sort of like they hit the note and they let it fade out.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me a little bit, and I almost hesitate to say this because it's not that similar, but a little bit of Black Mill, if you ever have listened to Black Mill, in that sense. So they're a non-fan of electronic.
I noticed that there, like what you said, there was like a lot of echo, reverb, delay, that kind of thing. I didn't really notice any panning, but that's just going into the depths of the mechanics of the song, and I need to listen to it again if I want to go into that.
Yeah, but it's and it's clearly based on like Luna and Celestia. I think this is probably like Luna's just been banished to the moon, or maybe she's been there for a little while, but she like feels bad, and
there's a lot of regret in there.
Yeah, there's like a lot of regret. She's like missing her sister, so it's like memory of you. Presumably, you is Celestia.
I mean, clearly that's like given across by the album. Well, not the album art, but like what I would call the title card, really.
Yeah, it's a really interesting picture, which obviously you can go click and look at. Maybe I'll have it on the screen. But it's this Luna's sitting on the moon, and then she's looking back at what is presumably, whatever planet Equestria resides on. And it's like the clouds are making like a unicorn head.
Oh my god, I just noticed that. Oh wow.
It's super well done. It's I don't know. Oh, it looks like, a painting type style.
Yeah, I see that.
It's
painting.
not credited either, so it could be their own work.
It might be. I do not
like
know
digital
that.
Painting.
I don't think it's in the description, but
It's
can go
not. It's not.
Not.
Before we continue, do you have anything to say about the song? Or did you listen to it? Fun fact.
Well, this is my first time hearing of Nymera or their songs. I might have heard it in the background somewhere, maybe on like a Pony Radio or something, but it's pretty good. I'm a partial fan of electronic. There's some electronic I'll listen to, like chill step, things like that, but I'm not into like the hard, like grindy stuff. So this is definitely a song I'd like to listen to, past, just here. Like it's definitely getting saved in my playlist. I think it doesn't, one of my favorite things about it is it doesn't have there's not like a big drop or anything. It just kind of keeps that like an ambient smooth tone throughout, and it really makes you think of Luna sitting on the moon, like reflecting on everything, like that kind of peaceful like serenity you'd get being up in space, well, as far as we know of space. But I really enjoy it, and I'd recommend it to anybody that likes smooth, just smooth.
Yeah.
I feel like you could do that with almost everything this artist has put out. It's all just like pretty laid back, and would make good.
If a playlist was full of this stuff, which I'm pretty sure there is, I'm not entirely sure if there's like a function for as the song fades out, another song fades back in, so there's no break. This kind of music would be excellent for that.
Yes, it would. But yeah, so we are at 50 minutes. The song is 4 minutes long, so that would put us at 54. If we subtract 2 minutes, we're editing out. Actually, there's going to be at least like 5 minutes now that we had that whole thing with Fun Fact.
Yep.
So that would put us at 50 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, if we cut out all of this talking about minutes, then probably another.
Yeah,
well,
I'm approximating 5 minutes. Maybe it'll be 7. I just don't have anything like more worthwhile to say, and I don't want to just do like stupid filler. Yeah,
I don't think we should make it super long just because.
We messed up the recording, but right here, Fun says that PonyCon 2016 is back, and we should talk about that. So that's what he's going to do now. Oh, are they? Yeah. Let me go see if I can't find that. But you talk about it because you're more familiar than I am.
Yeah. So PonyCon 2016. It happened up in New York City back in February, and yeah, it was my first MLP convention, first convention in a long time, and they said at the end, like the closing ceremony, that they would no longer be around. They said that was going to be their last year, and I was really, really upset because that was I love the convention. I'd go back any year, and out of nowhere, they seem to have come back this year. I saw on their Twitter, they're announcing like tickets and stuff. It's down in Jersey now, but I guess it just didn't get enough exposure. I didn't see it. I didn't know anything about it, and I won't be able to make it this year as much as I would love to go because I haven't saved up for it, I haven't planned. But I'm glad that they're back. Like I guess whatever happened, they were able to fund the next year's or this year's. So, and I mean, kudos to them. Like they did a great job last year, bringing in a bunch of stars, bunch of events, really good panel. But let's hope that this year is just as good as last.
Sounds like a fantastic time.
And I'm just scrolling through their show staffing keynotes. They currently have Ashley Ball, who obviously is Rainbow Dash and Applejack, and then they have Kathy Westluck, and I actually did not know this. She does voice Spike in Mayor Mare, but she also voices Coco Pamel, which I had no idea. Yeah, so did not know that. They have Ingrid Nelson, who she's Maud. But according to this, she might be more of the pie sisters.
Doctor, you said it wrong. It's Maud.
Maud. And then on musicians, they have your Enigma, who's obviously really popular. Jetsuo the robot, who I don't know who is.
I actually got a signed box from him.
Indie Notes and Shake Ups in Ponyville.
Really?
They are a power pop dedicated. See, now we're gonna have to do these people next week. If they're unknown.
We're probably gonna be having to do some of these people next week. I totally found them.
Here's the YouTube link.
I'm looking for their schedule. Is that online?
I don't know. I literally just pulled this up.
I mean, it says online schedule we posted 2 weeks before, and it's 2 weeks before.
Huh.
So
yeah.
It may be not quite posted, or it may be
right.
already posted somewhere that I don't know about.
Keep in mind, this is a convention, and there's a whole bunch of planning that goes into it, so they may not have just gotten around to it yet.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Well, it looks like they tweeted 6 hours ago, so
yeah.
The newsletter, they have a listing of all the musical guests, so they're putting it together, I bet.
Yeah, probably. As we speak, it'll probably be up because we for reference, we are recording this on a Friday. I'm planning to release it on a Monday. Hopefully that pans out.
Yeah.
Like I said, haven't done this before. But assuming we post it on Monday, so if the whole fandom collapses over the weekend and we don't comment on it, you know why?
I very heavily doubt that's going to happen.
The fandom apocalypse. Right. It could happen.
The fandom apocalypse. Suddenly, Applejack's and Alicorn and
I know. It's simpler than that. Suddenly, Trump outlaws ponies, and that's it.
Oh
Trump
my God.
outlaws
ponies.
Can we not have politics in this? Can we just not do that?
Okay, fine. You can bleep out Trump if you like.
But yeah. So.
Pretty much, yeah. We're just rambling.
Wait, Sky, did you plug your thing?
I don't really need to plug my thing.
But you were talking about plugging your thing for the entire.
If nobody else wants to plug my thing,
I told them my name, and I told them that I ran FimFiction, which is enough for them to find me.
All right. Well, I did change the name, but you folks can find me on Tumblr at Fallout Equestria, Ghosts of the Past, or Ask Captain Skysail. So, go do that thing, and my computer just fell asleep. Wonderful.
Hooray!
All right, I think we're basically done now. I'm gonna play the track, and don't want to ramble on for too long. I'm gonna play I've already forgotten the name because I'm a terrible
Nymeria,
person.
Memory of You.
There you go. We're gonna play that, and We will see you next week.
Alrighty
assuming
then.
we don't all fall off a cliff.
Alrighty then. Have a good afternoon, folks.